Can I just add a question to that? It is curious that it's an Australian-based company that's starting it off, but presumably this program we will make open to whoever wants to participate in it, because this enables us to plant those 500 hectares quicker than the 40 years that it's going to take you otherwise.
Correct, Mr Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Cooper, question. Sorry, Councillor Walker.
A couple of other questions. The council, and I'm referring to Auckland Council as the parent group, has got significant carbon emissions. For example, we're one of the largest farmers in the region, and the cattle that we farm are arguably significant in terms of methane emissions. We've got a car fleet that I think numbers how many hundred vehicles? I don't know.
800.
Are we 800? So have we looked at putting a facility in place that involves a direct relationship between our council and its emissions, its footprint, and our ability to plant on our areas of land, and using nurseries, local nurseries such as Oratia Native Plant Nursery, which is conceivably going to go defunct? Have we looked at something that would arrive at a package that would fit our needs well?
Mr Chair, I'm sorry I can't answer that question.
It's a little bit wide of our officials' mandate, Councillor.
Through you, Mr Mayor, what I've arrived at through my questions is that there are a variety of options, and there are others.
Sorry, this is entering into Councillor, please, this is entering into a statement. We're just looking at questions. You will get a chance to make a statement shortly. Councillor Cooper.
Thank you. So my question was, just to make it really clear in plain language, the property rights that this company want to retain is the right to own the sequestered carbon, which means the trees, the right to not have anyone else cut them down. Is that what we mean when we say the property rights?
The council would retain the ownership of the land and the ownership of the trees.
Right,
so
but they want the right not to cut them.
All we're doing is providing a guarantee, if you like, that we won't cut those trees down or dispose of the carbon rights in those trees.
Thank you. And the other question is, I mean, it's in the attachment. It says that these, we want to have conditions of eco-sourcing, which would be from our local nurseries. So is that something you think that this company would agree to?
Through you, Mr Chair, yes, they have agreed to that.
They have agreed to that. Oh, good. So we are going to use our local nurseries, and we are going to have our native plants. Now, the other thing is, is this company going to import Australians to plant the trees?
Through you, Mr Chair.
No. Well, it's a clear comment, because we've got an assumption here that it's Australian.
The question has been asked.
So who will plant the trees?
Mr Hollier, can people please give
answer to my question,
the
please?
official the chance to answer the question?
Thank you, Mr Chair. The Green Fleet is setting up a New Zealand operation to repeat what they're doing in New Zealand, so that's part of that, and so they're looking at selling these carbon offsets within New Zealand to New Zealand companies and individuals, so and they will be involved in the planting.
So that'll be, for example, to the airlines who are already reducing their carbon footprint by changing routes, etc. So they're actually going hand in hand. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We've established it won't be gum trees. Councillor Philippina.
Thank you, Your Worship.
New Zealand is planting a thing.
Look, one question, and this is on the 18th of November 2015, which was the resolution from the Parks, Recreation Sport Committee. And can you tell me that there was authority from there in regards to that you would negotiate a partnership with Green Fleet on a regional parkland subject to the conditions, and the 7 conditions are outlined in the bulk of on page number 11. So just confirm that you were asked to negotiate.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and second question through you, Chair, is that as a result of the negotiations that you have had with Green Fleet, is that the only one out of those 7 conditions, the only one that has been an issue?
That's correct.
Is around the no property rights.
Correct.
Supplementary, can you also confirm or not that our legal advice that you have received states that the only way that we could at least go towards supporting what they have said to you is through an encumbrance.
That's correct.
And last question through you, Chair, and that advice came through from Legal Counsel Minter Ellison Rudd and Watts?
Correct.
Okay, thank you, and I resume my right to speak.
Yep, we've
you.
now concluded the question, so let's commence the discussion around it. So I'm looking for councillors that would like to make a contribution. Councillor Walker?
Happy to
Sure.
move all
Wayne
the
Walker.
So,
discussion.
I think my concern and my questions for that out is we've got an opportunity to set something up that's a really good fit for our council. We have an opportunity to go out to the New Zealand market and seek expressions of interest from New Zealand companies. And when I say companies, I'm talking about organisations, not-for-profit area, and there may be nurseries that are interested locally. I really think that we should do that. And I don't see that there's particular urgency around this now. If it happens that the marketplace doesn't deliver on those opportunities locally, then sure, let's consider this. But right now we haven't done that. And I would suggest that there may well be not-for-profits in New Zealand that are interested in this area. And given that this is a precedent, we should be enhancing that, supporting that.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I should have asked for a mover of the recommendation, so we've got it formally on the books. It's been moved by Penny Hulse, seconded by Councillor Cashmore. Right, my next speaker is Councillor Filipaina.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just one clarification from your original comment that you made, Your Worship, and that is, yes, we didn't come to a consensus, but the 3 out of the 5 supported us going into partnership with Greenfleet. So I just wanted to sort of let you know that there was a majority, but there wasn't 5 saying that we should enter into partnership. Look, this particular issue, and it came through to Environment and Community Committee meeting, and we ended up organising the working party. Issues for me, one, we had our staff go and negotiate. That's from a resolution on the 18th of November in 2015. They have been doing the negotiations. There's only one point that has been of negotiation and contention, and that is no property rights. Our officers then asked some legal advice in regards to what can be done to at least get over that issue, and that was through Minter Ellison, Rudd and Watts. And the only advice here, apart in the 3 one that is relevant to me, is the fact the only way we could do that is through an encumbrance. There are no other companies and organisations that has the capability, within New Zealand, that has the capability to deliver what really the resolution in 2015 wanted us to do. I mean, you know, it's to carry out and maintain conservation program in order to restore natural ecosystems and offset carbon emissions. As we've already been told around questions that were asked, it is to safe keep the fact that nobody, if council chooses to sell some of the land, that the trees will not be cut down. We have the ownership, we maintain the ownership. There's no other company within New Zealand that can deliver what we want based on that resolution in 2015. The other issue as well, I think through you, Your Worship, and councillors should know, is that that doesn't negate any other company who ends up forming their own company to end up saying, hey, we want a piece of this. There's nothing that's going to be put in front of us as the owners of the regional parks to end up saying, no, sorry, look, the monopoly is with Greenfleet. No, that's wrong. So, look, for me, I will be definitely supporting the partnership. I don't know whether there's any, I mean, it's the word around rescind, and whether there's anything else that may be another word. But, you know, for me, we've got legal advice, the encumbrance, and I will be supporting it. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Next, Councillor Mike Lee.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, members. Please bear with me on this one, because on one level this is a very simple question indeed, and on the other it's rather complicated. I just want to assure members that the regional park in question cannot be lawfully sold, cannot be settled as a Treaty of Waitangi settlement. It is subject to an order in council, the highest form of protection of public ownership there can be, and I'll come back to that. As we've heard, we're dealing with an Australian Melbourne-based carbon offset scheme in which corporates pay this organisation to offset their carbon emissions. As far as I know, at least I have not seen it, there's been no due diligence on this organisation. So I only have a vague idea who the corporates are that are contributing, their staff levels, where their operation works and so on. That concerns me and should concern all of us. The other point to make is the Australian-based company initiated this proposal. The council or the committee did not initiate the proposal, and it is essentially, by any definition, non-competitive. Now, the Parks Committee a year ago, on staff advice, was very positive and enabling for the scheme, but it was subject to conditions arrived at with officer advice that any self-respecting public body would include. And one of them was that this overseas owned company would not gain a property right over the regional park in question. And it seems that over the past year, rather than planting trees, there have been long negotiations essentially around this question. As far as I know, there may have been other concerns, but it's the property right condition, no property right condition, that they have been unable to live with. They didn't say that at the start. We didn't hear that at the meeting. It seems to me that once the foot was in the door, then this condition of an encumbrance, a property right, we can talk about that, was raised. Now, so this ended up after a year of a recommendation from officers to revoke or rescind their previous agreement, essentially on that one particular clause about the property right. Now, there's arguments whether it is a property right or not a property right, but essentially this is the condition the Parks Committee signed off on. No property rights beyond assuring the maintenance of the planting for 50 years are assigned. That apparently wasn't good enough for a Greenfleet, and they've demanded a property right by way of encumbrance. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because part of the long negotiations, God knows how much that costs in legal advice. Our legal advice has tried to assure us that actually, well, an encumbrance is, yes, it's a mortgage, yes, it's an interest over land, that's what an encumbrance is, but it's not really a property right. That is highly arguable and kind of ironic, really, and paradoxical, because the property right condition, or no property right condition, is exactly what Greenfleet finds objectionable. So we can't have it both ways. Why should we rescind a condition that refers to no property rights to enable an encumbrance which our legal advice says is not a property right? So, okay, so why do we need to rescind that condition? Whatever our legal advisors might advise us, Greenfleet believes an encumbrance is a property right. They want it on our regional parks. which is protected by law, which is protected by an order in council signed by the Governor-General. Members,